Hi friends. This is our first video of our Azure DevOps series. In this video, we will see what is Azure DevOps, what are the core services provided by Azure DevOps, what are the variants available in the Azure DevOps, and we'll see the difference between those variants. So let's start with the introduction. Uh, Azure DevOps is a platform tool for a team to plan, work, collaborate on the code development, and build and deploy the application. Basically, it is provide end-to-end DevOps toolchain with the plan, code, build, test, and then deploy. Right? So Azure DevOps is a hugely popular choice because it offer a huge flexibility, supporting any language, any platform, any cloud. Right. Azure DevOps can be integrated with the most leading CI/CD tools in the market, like Ansible, GitHub, Jenkins, Kubernetes, Puppet, and Rated. Azure DevOps is a service of Azure, which is developed and managed by Microsoft, and it is rebranded from the Visual Studio Team Services. That means previously it was known as a Visual Studio Team Service. Uh, Azure DevOps provide a range of services covering the full development lifecycle, including Azure Pod, Azure Pipeline, Azure Repo, Azure Test Plan, and Azure Artifact. We'll check all those services one by one in the next slide. In the software development cycle, planning is the first step. Uh, what and why needs to be developed. So all the work that needs to be done by the team is tracked in the Azure board. Azure board follow a two process, basic and agile. We'll check this process in detail in later video. Next is Azure pipeline. The Azure pipeline has a lot of capabilities such as continuous integration and continuous delivery. Uh, Pipeline take the code from the Azure repo, then build it, and then deploy to the target environment. It is also compatible with almost every language like Python, Android, C, PHP, C++, and it is follow the concept of stage, job, agent pool, which will cover later in the video. Next is Azure repos. So as a developer, you know that managing your code base and coordinating with your team can be complex and the time consuming task. So that's where Azure repos help us. So Azure Repo is a version control system that allows us to store a central repository and track the changes to your code and collaborate with your team. Right. Azure DevOps, Azure Repo provide a number of features to manage your code base. So it will provide a version control. It will provide a collaboration to coordinate with your team. It is provide a security to protect your code base. It can be easily integrate with a number of tools like Visual Studio, Eclipse, Jenkins, and Git Bash. There is a two types of Azure repo. First is a Git repository, and second is a Team Foundation version control. So Azure Test Plan allow user to create a test plans and execute test cases within the pipeline. This can be combined with the Azure board or Kanban board. You can add a test from the user story or a feature. Then it is automatically linking the test cases to the user story or the feature. After that, you can view, run, and interact with the test cases directly from the Kanban board. This is also browser-based test management solution provide all the capabilities required for plan manual testing and user acceptance testing. Azure Artifact enable developer to share their code efficiently and manage all their packages from one place. With the Azure Artifact, developer can publish the package to their feeds and share it within the same team across the organization. Azure Artifact integrate with the Azure pipeline and use the NuGet server and support the Maven npm and Python packages. It also store build artifact and the pipeline artifacts, which will we see in a later video. There are two variants of Azure DevOps. First is a cloud-based Azure DevOps Services, and the second is a Azure DevOps Server, which is basically the on-prem server. Cloud-based Azure service provide a scalable, reliable, and a globally available hosted service. It is backed by 99.9% SLA and monitored by a 24 by 7 Microsoft operation team. On-premise version use when you need your data to store or to stay your network, or you want to access the SQL Server reporting services that integrate with the Azure DevOps Server, because Azure DevOps Server is a built on a SQL Server backend. So we'll differentiate this variant on the basis of this point. So authentication, right? So with the Azure DevOps service, you can connect over a public internet. So you authenticate with the Microsoft account credentials or with the Azure Ready credential, depending on your organization setup. Whereas with the Azure DevOps server, you connect to the internet server. You authenticate with the Windows authentication or your Active Directory domain credentials. Then Azure DevOps is a service, cloud-based service that required a reliable internet connection. Right? If your connection goes down, you won't able to access your data. Whereas with the Azure DevOps server is installed on your server, so meaning you have a complete control over it. You can still access your data if your internet connection is stopped. Then security. So Azure DevOps service is hosted by Microsoft. So all the security related stuff managed by Microsoft. So Microsoft provide a feature like two-factor authentication, role-based access control, and more to help you keep your data secure. In the Azure DevOps server is installed on your server, so you have a complete control over its safety. You can implement security measures to keep your data safe. So Azure DevOps Service provide a set of pre-built services that you can use, but you can't customize them beyond a certain point. Whereas in the Azure DevOps Server, you can use a numerous customization option to adapt it to your unique requirement. With the Azure DevOps Services, maintenance and updates are managed by Microsoft, whereas with the Azure DevOps Server, require a maintenance and updates which means that your team will need time and resources to keep it up to date. Uh, in terms of scalability, Azure DevOps Services is a flexible to meet your demands. You may quickly add or delete user, project, and service as your business grow. Whereas Azure DevOps Server is limited by the hardware it is installed on, so you may need to upgrade your hardware as your business grow. So that's it all from this video. I hope you got at least a basic idea about what is Azure DevOps and what its feature. In the coming video, I will show you how to start Azure DevOps service with the free account. Thank you. Thanks for watching.